More oil and Bugby Plumbing Seat of Honor. He's up late to give you the news you can't get anywhere else early. He fights for truth and justice and the American way. Please welcome our pal from the Paragon Trust Company, the real Tony D. Tony D'Angelo.
All right, every Tuesday at the same time for the last half a decade, we have been bringing on the one and only Tony D'Angelo. You can find him on the X, Tony D'Angelo 7. And, of course, now we're throwing him up on the Patriot TV at 4 o'clock every Tuesday, so you can go and log on for that and more to come on that. And of course, we've got a SoundCloud page, and pretty soon I'll figure it out. But we'll figure out how to upload everything on the 94.9 News Now app and page. That's coming right around the corner. But Tony, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Lee Elci. Good morning, everyone, and proud to be among you as always.
All right, so I guess we're going to start with the slums. So the slums of where?
Well, we're getting there, and it's interesting. You had alluded to, and again, good morning. You had alluded to or mentioned in your opening that our governor, Ned Lamont, whom we like to call on this show, or at least I like to call him and several others, King Governor Ned Lamont the Unaccountable, vetoed the controversial housing bill, HB 5002. And it was the usual kind of back and forth. And of course, you wonder why it took so long, because it was just a horrific, horrible mess. And I think that for anything I can get angry with the governor about, this is probably one of the things that I can get the angriest with. A lot of people were relieved. A lot of people felt they had been redeemed. A lot of people, like my pals at CT 169, had literally worked like hell, bringing awareness to this that nobody else did. But I just said, what took so long? I mean, this was a horror going someplace to happen. Sure enough, it did. Now, my thought is that he's playing some kind of game. He always plays some kind of game. Do I run? Do I not run? Is this going to get me the suburban vote and this or that? Or am I causing a problem? Am I catching it from my ritzy neighbors? We don't know. I mean, we will see that in the days to come. But one thing I did want to caution, I was cautioning everybody yesterday, this is a cause for relief. This is not a cause for celebration, because he said, I want a better bill on my desk. So you got to ask yourself, okay, maybe we survive Hiroshima, but here comes Nagasaki. What is coming down the pipe? And this is the thing you have to, constantly look at, because it is a continual game with these guys. So leading from that, let me get your thoughts. What did you think when you heard that?
About him
not signing? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought, Tony, he was going to play the game where he wasn't going to sign it at all, just sort of let it become the law, and then said I didn't have anything to do with it. I was actually surprised he took a stand here on this one. I think for me, it's more of a power play. Like, I think he doesn't want to give the legislature too much juice, and they already have that veto-proof majority. But I think he wanted to show them that no, I'm still the boss, and if I don't want to sign something, I'm not gonna sign it.
Yeah, I mean, any theory is a good one, but we shall see. But interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw yesterday's Hartford Courant. There was a front page article about these new multi-unit housing developments. Now, I read this thing and I said to myself, this basically is an infomercial for the wonderfulness of these houses and how great they are. I couldn't believe something like this. I mean, the Hartford Courant's really sunk to some lows, but this was like the lowest it possibly could be. I thought I was like, watching my Roku, and this was like a real estate commercial that I couldn't get rid of. But what they did is they looked at a number of these projects that were going on. Apparently, these are the projects that are presented to us. If you're watching this on Patriot TV and you're in a state like ours, Connecticut, I'm sure New York is a big one for this. I'm sure you're seeing these things spring up. And they looked at, I've got to read, unfortunately, not committing them to memory. There was about 4 or 5 of them. And the Pike in Newington, Center Square Village in Bristol, Heirloom Flats in Bloomfield, the Borden and Weathersfield, and the Mill Yard in Newington. Each one had sort of a, shall we say, a great soliloquy to why these things are great. So I started to do a little digging on the rents. Now, the average 1-bedroom for one of these things is like over $2,200 a month. That's maybe including utilities, maybe your electricity, but maybe not some other things. The 2-bedroom, $2,900 a month. So I said, okay, now we're at ground zero. We've got to start, what are the solutions for workforce housing, right? Show me the head of a penny. If you look at this whole thing, of course, workforce housing, right? Workforce got to be affordable for the worker. If I do my chicken scratch math, at a rent of $2,225 a month, which is kind of like an average of these places, and I run that out to the 30% rule, your housing, I'm sure this doesn't happen in a lot of cases, didn't happen for me for thousands of years, is not supposed to get over that 30% benchmark. You would, in order for this to be quote unquote affordable from what the financial industry says, people that are actually around this stuff, not politicians, you'd have to be making $90,000 a year. Now, the average salary, they're telling me in Connecticut, is like 80. I don't think the average salary in Connecticut is 80 personally. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, how does it look for a 2-bedroom or maybe somebody with a child or something like that? Well, it gets a little bit better, a little bit worse. Both of those situations are borderline. You can make the rent, but the problem is that you have going on is that you have child expenses, maybe you have car payments or student loans or something like that. This doesn't get to be affordable at all. Right. And I started to run some other figures, and this might be a little dry, but I think it's instructive. The best solution for, quote unquote, affordable housing is, well, actually, this kind of goes 2 ways, is that if you had single family homes, which you do in places that maybe people don't want to go to, but if you made them palatable for people to go to, you come out way ahead. And I'm sitting there, Lee Elci, and I'm saying to myself, why is the solution always something that, and how many times have we been through that in the state? We were through it with e-cars. We were through it with homeschooling. The solution never fits the problem. The solution fits somebody's idea of the problem, but not the people that are the most affected. I mean, that's the thing that really gets me as far as I go. But one other thing, though, and this I think is critical. Now we're at ground zero. It's like the governor is saying, I want a bill on my desk. I'm looking at these things and saying, okay, workforce housing. Most of the workforce cannot afford this housing. I forget it. It's just not going to happen. So when you start to look at that sort of thing, it's like, well, what are you going to do? We're going to have some rents be at a below market thing, below market parameter. And if you're going to put these at a below market parameter, then it's like, well, what is the standard? How much and there is no real official standard for how many of the units you have to quote unquote take offline. And then if you take too many units offline, guess what? We're looking at the Cabrini Green, the Father Panic Village, the Southfield Village. Welcome to the slums of the future. And that's really, I had to say a whole lot to get to that.
So my question is, $2,900 a month for rent is affordable housing? Where did I go? It's $3,000 a month. Is that what you're telling me?
I can't pay that.
I'm serious about that. $3,000 a month for affordable housing, and that's a couple of rooms, 2 bedrooms.
Well, but I think the affordable housing and the workforce housing is this whole thing that's been very vague and very, oh, it's okay, oh, this, oh, that, and just the typical blah, blah you get in, what I like to call the state-run media and out of the legislature that's like, well, we're going to make a lot of these units affordable.
Right.
And it's like, well, how many? And it's this nebulous thing. And then when what was it, Ross Perot that said this dog simply does not hunt? It doesn't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Now I got some ideas.
Okay.
If you want, if there really is now, I have a problem as far as figuring out how the where the demand is as far as, because we have, in this state, as I'm sure we're going to have in a lot of other states, declining industry. We've got declining pay scales. We've got perhaps people needing housing. Then you have to ask yourself, well, how are they going to be supported? And you let your mind run wild on that. But let's just say, my beloved and esteemed senior colleague likes to say, yes, somebody actually older than me still working. Assume arguendo that we have a genuine need. Well, why don't you start to think about addressing the need rather than addressing, quote unquote, the needs of the corporate developers, and give something economic to folks to make them, like a business. For example, let's just say a pull electric boat out of the hat. Let's just say that electric boat has this need for housing. Well, look, for every person the management thinks is worthy of housing, let the management decide who the good workers are. Give them starter money for a down payment or something like that. Take a corresponding tax credit. Maybe you got to refine that a little bit, but something like that can go A to B, as opposed of, we're building these things. All they're really going to do, they're going to be affordable to very, very few. In a declining economy, they're not going to make the rent. Well, let's make it workforce housing. Okay. Let's have fair rent commissions. Okay. Let's have rent control. Okay. Remember how well that did in the 1960s and 1970s in New York City? I'm that old, believe me. I dealt with landlords who were trying to clear people out of rent controlled apartments, trying to be there in the fifth generation. I mean, I don't know if people have any idea where this is going to lead. And it's like, hey, but we got a blank slate. I'll go that far. Don't celebrate this. Use this as an opportunity to have real economic solutions.
Tony D'Angelo is with us. You can, again, follow him on the X, Tony D'Angelo 7. We get him each and every Tuesday morning to chat about a number of different things. And, of course, he's got his own YouTube page, which he unleashes on Thursday. Make sure you tune in for that. It's always a lot of fun. All right, pivoting from housing to the electric monster. What is that?
Yeah, one thing I'm going to mention before we get to the electric monster, the 5 developers of these, shall we call them, I'll use my first mother-in-law's term, Taj Mahals. Every single one of them is getting a huge tax credit or some sort of thing to keep building these things. And for example, the Borden and Weathersfield, the Lexington partners are getting a $5 million Urban Act grant. I mean, so I submit it to everybody. If we're going to start looking for solutions and legislators start throwing this stuff at you, now you got some ammunition. Now you can ask questions. And this is only kind of just hitting the top of it. But as far as the moving to the electric cars, we have some good news. We've done a lot of good things in this show, thanks to you. We've gone through and things I think that we've had information that we've given to the people that they wouldn't have received anywhere else. We looked at the COVID situation. We looked at homeschooling. We dealt with artificial intelligence in the spring and summer. I told you what I felt about that. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with some remnants of that, but probably, when our legislature gets into session, it's like across the aisles many times, Mark Twain was right, we're in trouble. But the one where I think we did our best work is the EV mandate, and actually telling people where this thing was headed. And if if you're watching on Patriot, you might have a similar situation. We had two major developments this week, or actually the past couple of weeks, that really, I won't say this is the death knell for electric cars. You want an electric car? That's cool. I mean, I'd love to have an electric car that I can plug in with my phone, and just kind of go around, but it's not that kind of a world. But there's really two exciting developments here, and it's really about the rights of people. First one, June 12th, 2025. Our president, Donald Trump, signed the Congressional Review Act to the EPA's waiver in California, which gave California the green light to ban gas-powered cars. Trump said, no, you can't do it. This is going to be fought in the courts. It'll probably go to the Supreme Court, but Supreme Court being as it is, I think it's pretty clear they're going to uphold that, because it comes down to, and this, I think, is like the Chevron decision, kind of the same thing happening. Can an administrative agency effectively write law for the benefit of people without any sort of, the people in California or even Connecticut, we didn't get to vote for the e-car mandate. Frankly, we embarrassed people and screamed like hell. And that's how that got done. But that's really the legal question. The other thing, and this is really huge, not a word in Connecticut media, probably not in your state as well. Supreme Court 7-2 came down on June 20th in something called the Diamond Alternative Energy versus the EPA. And basically, the oil producers in California sued and said, look, you can't throw us out of business. It's like an administrative agency just can't make a decision and say, well, there's no gas-powered cars. We have the right to sue to protect our economy. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, you're right. 7-2, they said you're right. I mean, the two people I think that were that voted no were, if I'm correct, I think it was Jackson and Sotomayor. Justices Jackson and Sotomayor. But basically, one of these dogs, talk about dogs hunting, one of these dogs is going to hunt. And it's just my belief and your belief, I think the belief of any sane person when it comes to housing, when it comes to cars, whatever it is, let me make my own damn mind. Don't tell me what's good for me. I mean, if I'm going to make my own mistake, I'm going to make my own mistake without the help of any politician, agency, or whatever the case may be. And as Mark Levin says, I can't wear his shoes, frankly. I'm through.
Well, I'll tell you, the two Supreme Court justices that voted against that, I mean, they don't even know what a woman is, Tony. So you can't expect much out of both of those two young ladies. Hey, again, what's coming up on Thursday? What can we expect?
I think we're going to look, we'll see what develops between now and Thursday before we take the show live. That's 3 p.m., 30 with Tony, X, Twitter, and YouTube. And one of the biggest things that they're not looking at all in this affordable housing thing, quote unquote, is that we have a major homeowners insurance crisis because as we talked about, people looking at situations that are like not really safe, and it's cool to do things woke and stuff like that. The money's saying, "Hey, you're in trouble, and if you don't straighten up, we're going to get the heck out and not bother to insure you, and you fall on your head, it's your problem."
All right. Well, listen, pull the curtain back and let them know what they can expect tomorrow. You're right here in this magic seat tomorrow. What do you got?
Well, we're going to have fun. We've got an hour of Professor Bob Swick, and people have been crying for that. Bob will give us sort of the recap of things. I'm sure we'll be picking up from what's here. Then we'll have Bob on the phone from 7:38. People have wanted to talk to him. Actually, he would be from 7 to 7:30. We have a young lady, Deborah April. She does call the show, and Deborah April once in a while. And she's been very involved in the homeschooling thing and the rights of kids and pornography. I want to hear from somebody who's really experiencing this and not someone who's necessarily, dealing with the policy. This affects real people. And 2 hours is going to be no holds barred, open phones, talk about whatever you want, and show me as ignorant as I might be. You got your shot.
Well, it's going to be great tomorrow. I starved the listeners for the callers for the last couple of days, so they're going to be ready to rock and roll.
They'll be ready to go. That's what I thought.
Yeah. So very good, Tony. I appreciate you, and thank you for filling in tomorrow. And I will talk to you soon. Okay, buddy?
Thank you, pal.
All right, you got it. Tony D, the great Tony D, joining us each and every Tuesday. But tomorrow, I got jury duty, maybe. So he'll be here making the magic happen. Greg Howard on Thursday making that magic happen. We'll be back. Hang on. Radio.